Welcome to the foundation. It is yours truly, the incredible DJ Battle in the building. And hey, man, it's your boy riding solo again. Let's get this party started. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, like, share. You know the spill. Contribute. Cash App $ DJ Battle 313. Yes, indeed. Disclaimer time. It's the king up in here. Ready to get the show started. You know, I don't want no drama, no BS, none of the above. And why is that? Entertainment purposes only. Well, if you haven't heard already, it's been a blackout, an Iberian blackout. Basically, it's millions without power in Spain, Portugal, and some parts of France. Now, that's a lot of people, y'all, and that's a lot of space, a lot of territory to cover, and kind of makes you wonder what's really going on. We always talked about the possibility of this happening, you know, especially in like an EMP, anything of that nature. There's always possible to happen. It could be a cyber attack, from what I'm hearing, and it just can show you, man, we don't know how this happened. They don't have the details yet, but you know, like anything else, they'll get to the bottom of it. You're talking about you know, almost a day without power. You know, it can happen anywhere. It can happen here. It can happen anywhere. So that's why we always keep telling you, or at least I keep telling you, stay prepared. Stay prepared because you know this can happen at any time, any place. And if it does happen, you better be prepared. Don't be caught with your pants down. Make sure you have some non-perishables. Make sure you have some water, ammunition, some physical money, you know, because let's think about it, because it's only a matter of time before people snap. You know, if you have power out for a short period of time, half a day, even a day, people will be like, okay, they still keep it together for the most part. But when it started turning to days, and them days turn to weeks, these people had the capability and the mentality to snap. The old school heads will probably have more patience and tolerance. They'll go back to board games, you know, cooking food on the wood or charcoal. It's the newer heads you got to worry about. Younger heads, you know, because they'll snap after just a few hours without technology, you know, without having a phone or social media or internet. Some people will actually lose their stuff, you know, and especially the kids that's been born into this and that's all they know. That's like taking their whole world away. So once again, stock up on your non-perishables, your water, games, ammunition to protect yourself, and you know, and stuff like wood, you know, stuff, you know, stuff that you can use to do a campfire. Maybe want to consider a tent, you know, for camping or something. Just saying, anything can happen, y'all. How times have been, right? Now, something else that's been, you know, weighing heavy and caught my attention is these hospitals starting to close left and right. I've seen some footage of some hospitals in Pennsylvania and some rural areas. You're starting to see hospitals close, and that should be a big concern. Especially with hospital CEOs making all that money and doing what's in their best interest financially to just say, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and you know, cash out, close the hospital, and leave people basically just jobless, like the nurses and staff. I mean, it's horrible, and they're starting out with these rural areas. So this goes back to my first point in the previous topics that you know you gotta be careful. Gotta be careful, man. Especially if you stand out in these rural communities. You gotta figure out ways to. You know, I get it. Some things happen. People get sick. You know, or accidents happen. So, but a hospital is definitely a necessity. And during these times, you're starting to see the colors of these hospital owners. You know, they're just going to cash out, close it, not even thinking about the greater good or what's best in the best interest of the people. They're only going to look out what's in the best interest of their pockets. So You may want to consider moving to an area that's a little bit more heavily populated, maybe a bigger city where you don't see these things start to happen as much. And I'm pretty sure if things keep trending the way it's going, especially with the supplies from Hong Kong, because I don't know if you guys heard, there's not shipping supplies to hospitals here, so that's also a big concern. People don't think we heavily rely on the products that they're sending here until these things happens when you start to see hospitals close. So that right there is a concern. Whew, it's tough, man. And seeing those nurses freak out because they don't know their next move. I'm definitely praying that they'll, get a job at a bigger location, maybe a bigger city. And like I say, the citizens of those smaller rural communities may want to consider moving to a bigger city. I know it takes money to move, but we really literally talking life and death. Gotta go. Gotta get up and migrate. Gotta go. Gotta go where you can get your needs attended to. So yeah, that is just crazy. And then you think about speaking of shortage and tariffs, you got places like Walmart and Target, Home Depot, and shelves are starting to thin out a little bit gradually. And they're saying next week, which would be like the second week of May, you're going to start to see fewer shipments go to the docks where they pick up the materials. It's going to be a problem. People are living their day-to-day lives and not thinking about the shortages and the tariffs. But they're thinking about the tariffs because they hear about it, but they don't really truly. You about to really start to feel it when they start to really shorten the supply chain here, and the shelves start to really look empty. At what the prices, that's going to have a major effect. The prices starting to go up because of the supply is low, and of course the demand is going to be high, and people are going to start once again. They're going to start losing their head. They're going to start panic in a sense. So now is the time to stock up. Get your non-perishables, get your water, get everything you need that you can get. And you may have to even pool your resources with with a neighbor or family member. We're going to go back to that old school way of living where we truly was a village. Even get things like the life straw, where you can get water and it'll pretty much, when you use it, it'll convert a natural water source to drinking water. And of course, the ability to be able to boil and have clean water. Make sure you get like alcohol, safety items. Like I said, boards and games to keep your wits. Even start going back to some old school activities like knitting. Things that our younger generation have probably never seen. Some of those things need to come back. Get your Monopoly board, play some Monopoly, chess, checkers. All those board games that's collecting dust in your attic. Bring them out. Bring them out because you're going to need them. But yeah, those shelves are definitely getting empty, as you can see. Scary times, boy, I tell you. But anyway, on to the situation with the draft. I'm pretty sure everyone's seen it at this point with Shaduer, Sanders, basically just sliding down the draft board. Yeah, it was shocking to an extent, but at the same time, I look at it like this: it's a game. I knew he was going to eventually get drafted, and like anything else, anytime you're drafted, there's no guarantee. It really comes down to work ethic and learning your skill set through film and just great work ethic and being able to show up early and stay over when you need to improve your skills. But I did find it ironic that he slid that far, and of course it was only because of this man right here. To be honest with you, they didn't they don't like Coach Prime, boy, and they didn't. And the excuses that they would use as well, the things he said about trying to control where his son goes, which he has the right to say. He really do. He really has the right to say that. Just like the Mannings, Archie, he had the same say. when it came to his kids. He was like, we're not going to play for San Diego. If they draft him, he's not going to play for him. And what happened? San Diego drafted him, and all of a sudden he got traded to New York. Archie got his way. So I don't see what the really big issue it was with Shadur that, for them to have to pretty much try to damper his reputation by calling him entitled or spoiled, and really want to kind of throw him in a thug like category. But the real problem is, like I said, was they didn't want to. They really had hate for his father, and they used that vitriol towards him, towards Shador. I mean, and plus you look at most of the players that are drafted high, especially at the quarterback position. Yeah, you can't say it's racism because brothers are all over the place, but how many of those brothers have a, um, a father in the equation? Not only a father that was great, not great enough to make it in one sport like football, but also good enough to make a major league baseball team playing at the same time. It's hard to make a roster in either sport. Just one spot in either sport. He made it two. So the brother pedigree is, you can't question that. And now that he's coaching, and yeah, he's turned around the Colorado program. Of course, it's still not um, it's not winning championships, but they're on the radar. They're getting good recruits. He's starting to get a foundation and a blueprint. And and what's the bottom line when it comes to anything? Money. He's driven the interest there to where a lot of investments are going there. Um, and he's getting rewarded for it. So you got to give him props. So I honestly believe this was nothing more than the NFL owners, um, basically doing some buck breaking and in one sense, and trying to keep the ratings up, because after all, when most people look at the NFL draft, it's really the first round they pay attention to. There are a number of rounds and the draft goes on for a few days. So this was an opportunity to get viewership on the second, third, fourth round with Shador still being on the board, because that was the narrative, right? And then the knock on him was what? He spoiled, entitled, did horrible in the interview. Like, man, come on, man. You got like he the only player that was a high draft, possible draft pick that had a bad interview. I mean, I remember Isaiah Thomas was purposely bombing interviews because he knew he didn't want to get drafted by the Pistons. And then what did they do? They just said flat out. The owner said, "We know you doing this on purpose. We're going to draft you anyway, right?" And how did it turn out? Right? And if it really was an entitlement issue or spoiled or entitled issue, he had good grades. He never was any trouble. So if he really really felt like he needed a reality check, then what's the perfect time to correct that? Training camp. Training camp would be the perfect time, because let's be honest, it's pretty much like hazing anyway. So they're gonna take that opportunity to haze him, have him carry everybody's luggage, the whole nine, damn near be the water boy. And I honestly think he would take it in stride, wouldn't complain, and do exactly what they tell him to do. At the end of the day, it wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah, it was jacked up that the Atlanta Falcons, um, one of the coordinator's son, called Shador and basically pranked a draft pick. And that's cruel in that industry, because people livelihoods at stake. They stress is through the roof. But like I said, they gave the son the benefit of the doubt. Oh, he's a good kid, even though he's 21. He just pranked, and at the end of the day, yeah, it's a prank. No one got hurt, but show the same empathy for Shador. But once again, other than him waving his watch around or doing things of that nature, dude, look, he comes from money. It's not like you got to worry about him breaking laws. The dude come from money. Y'all don't have no issue with anybody else come from money, but it seems like it's a problem. But I'm not gonna go down that road. I'm just gonna say that at the end of the day, it's not a big deal, because He, I knew he would get drafted one way or another. Once you get drafted, the rest comes down to what you do in the film. I mean, while watching the film and how you perform. So he can go in there and I'm not gonna say he can pull a Tom Brady, but who knows? Even Tom Brady wasn't a high pick, right? How did that turn out? His work ethic at the end of the day, his pops pretty much prepared him for this position, and he's taking a lot of heat. Have you heard him complain? Not one bit. So give the brother some props, and give Dion some props for not only what he accomplished professionally, but to raise two sons to get in the draft. Now I know he has another son, but just to have two kids that can play in the league is quite the accomplishment. And this is not no typical. This is not no nepo situation either, because Dion didn't drag his son in there and say, "I demand you to pick him up." This guy went out and busted his ass at Colorado, Jackson State, made the throws. He's a pocket presence quarterback first. I mean, you can't. What can you complain about? Especially when he didn't have a really good O line. And how important is the O line when it comes to the quarterback position? I don't care how great you are. You don't have a good O line, you can't throw. And he made some dimes. He threw some dimes. He threw some great, made some great plays. So I'm not gonna hang too much on it. I'm glad he got drafted. I see his jerseys as a top seller. Hey, big shout out to him. I wish him the best, like everybody else. I'm gonna keep my eyes out and see what happens. Y'all, everyone has been keeping their eyes on the Shannon Sharpe situation to the point that now they made it into a Pixar Pixar video, even though it really wasn't my Pixar, but just the Pixar style animations, man, is trending real hard, very hilarious, and using actual voices from the tapes and footage of Shannon Sharpe and everyone else involved, from Cat Williams and Monique and the woman that's supposedly suing Shannon Sharpe. This is where we at, man. It's something serious, and then next, it's a Pixar animation. But I would definitely recommend everyone to check it out just for a good laugh. I know I laugh every time it pop up on my timeline, even though it's a serious topic. But that's what happens when you get put out there and you're trending. People are going to figure out ways to add fuel to the fire or fly. But just wanted to touch on that, man. Just thought that was hilarious. Um, but anyway, man, let's get back to something serious. Now, uh, we guess who's back in the news now? Oh my goodness. No, it's not Bobby Brown. It's TD Jakes, the one that swallowed. He's stepping down, y'all. He's stepping down, and it's been a crazy year and some change for TD, especially with everything he's been going through. Uh, it didn't help. It seemed like everything really started to hit the fan once he got with this brother right here, and it was downhill from there. Yeah, it was definitely downhill from there. Because first of all, you're a man of the church, and you keep a certain image, and people don't really expect you to link up with someone with the background of a Diddy. But hey, I'm not judging. It could have been great, good friends as far as I know. But as you can see, it just added a lot of outside pressure where a lot of folks was leaving the Potter's house, which is the church he preaches at. A lot of folks were leaving in droves because they're like, how dare you, line yourself up with someone like this? And then, of course, the rumors of him being a power bottom and engaging in certain activities, allegedly. I don't know, but I do remember it being a hot topic, and the pressure was on. It was on to the point that when he got to one Sunday service, he sat in this position and had a heart attack, allegedly. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he had a stroke, heart attack. I'm not a medical expert, and I don't know if it was something that was staged or if it really happened. I don't know. Or maybe in my opinion, like it could have been staged for him to, to exit out and in a way that he won't have to worry about being involved in that Diddy scandal. Like this is a perfect way he got more than enough money to step outside of the situation and step away for a few years if he wanted to, or not come back at all. It just seemed like the timing of everything just seemed kind of just strange, like almost staged. That's just my opinion. Like I said, I don't know if it did or didn't. What if he really had a heart attack or not, or a stroke? I don't wish that on anyone. So it could have really happened. I don't know, but it just seems the timing was definitely strange. And yeah, I guess he's going to give up leadership to someone close to him, and we'll see what happens. In my opinion, he'll come back a year from now, 2 years now. Once everything had died down, he'll come. It's been a blessing. I don't swallow no more. I'm a new man. I'm reborn. In that realm is always forgiving, and people always welcome you back, and it can be added to your testimony. Then he'll probably at some point, come clean. Like, I know I walked down some dark roads and I swallowed some things I didn't need to swallow, but I'm a new changed man now. I'm a change. Let me quit, right? But that's where we at with that situation. I'm pretty sure folks are going to be going to still continue to go to the Potter's house and support whoever's in the leadership over there, right? Right. Oh well, on to the next topic. Now we're going to talk about some transportation issues. Southwest. Man, I'm just getting nervous about traveling now, man. I'm pretty sure you guys and heard about the story recently about, a woman who went on a flight for some reason or another. She starts wigging out. She comes out all of her clothes and butt naked on the flight. So you can only imagine on the flight. I'm like, come on, man, you butt naked on the flight. That wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. She, parading up and down the aisle, butt naked, face covered up. But the low light, because I'm not gonna say the highlight of it, is she pooped in her seat. So I'm just like, man, what the hell is going on out here with traveling? Damn, Southwest, y'all got folks out there flying with y'all defecating on themselves, butt naked. What are people having mental breakdowns of society as far as the state we're in with the president and everything he's doing? Have we reached a point where folks have just lost their mind? That right there that's a low point right there. But doesn't stop there in the good old world of traveling, right? We also have some issues with cruising. What's the first thing come to mind? You think of some ratchet cruises. When you think of something ratchet about that, what's the first one? What's the first cruise line come to mind? You think of something ratchet about to happen or happening. If your first guess was Carnival, you are correct. Yeah, Carnival, boy. I don't understand, man. Y'all got brawls taking place on the ship. You have a situation where you have some youth on the elevator jumping up and down, and then of course, when the elder get on the elevator, that's almost like it's not your parents, but it's a person that you need to respect and be polite. Stop doing goofy stuff. So these young men are, I think it's about 4 or 5 of them jumping up and down the elevator, which first of all dangerous because anything can happen on the elevator. It can snap, break, free fall, the whole nine, right? So an elderly couple, not an elderly couple, but just a older couple, middle-aged couple gets on the elevator and what do? They just tell the kids pretty much, tone it down, like calm down, like chill out. You know the youth of the day, no respect, no respect, right? They jumped them. They jumped the middle-aged couple. Jumped them. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Really? Carnival, boy. Carnival. Boy, I just don't know, man. It's just, I just got back from the cruise, Royal Caribbean, of course, and I thank God we don't deal with the ratchetness or the hood mentality or to where fights break out and middle-aged people get jumped on by the youth. And it didn't stop there. It didn't stop there. We had to also remember it was another incident, another Carnival cruise. Which Carnival cruise was it? I can't remember offhand. But when you go to make a when you go to get off on a island, let's say like the Bahamas, um, one of your destinations, and you get off and you book your excursion. The key word is book. Once you book your excursion, like get on a catamaran and ride on the river, for example, or ride on the ocean sunset cruise, you have to pay for the excursion to get on it, right? On one of your points of interest, you have to pay on the ship. You pay for it before you get on it, right? Or in some cases, you may pay when you get off. If you decide to do an excursion without that's not affiliated with the cruise ship. But either way, you still have to pay. So in this situation, I want to say it was like a catamaran boat or where they were going to just take a cruise out in the ocean, and you always have fun out there. They play music or give you beverages. You have to pay before you get on, and they'll give you something like either a stamp or a wristband. They'll give you something to show proof that you paid, right? So some reason or another, this woman, young mother of one, decides to get on this excursion on this boat without paying or having proof of payment, which will be the wristband, right? So she's sitting there, and of course, like anything else, before the captain or whoever's directing the boat, before they take off and have fun, they're going to do a head count, and then they're going to make sure everyone has, proof of payment, i.e., wristband. Well, this woman and her son didn't have a wristband, so they basically let them know, hey, if you don't have your wristband, you got to get off. This woman decides to show out and decide not to get up. She was, a pretty thick woman, and she was not going to move. And keep in mind, we were out there in the Caribbean, especially this time of year, and you just sitting there on that boat. It gets hot. It gets hot quickly. If it's 80, 75 degrees here in the States, it's probably 90 degrees out where they like somewhere like Bahamas or St. Thomas or even especially Haiti. But anyway, you can imagine if you just sitting still in the sun, some people may have health conditions to where they may have some health issues, asthma attack, anything happen. I think one woman did have an asthma attack, but it got so bad that they had to call the police and eventually get that woman removed. And the son was embarrassed because he knew mom's in the wrong. He got off. He cooperated. Mom's was the one that didn't cooperate. Man, you talk about embarrassing, not a good look. But once I heard the word carnival, I was like, oh, should have known. I did carnival one time. That's my first time ever cruising. I thank God that it was my first time because I felt like even though we didn't have no bad incident, it was a short cruise, so it just gave me a taste of what the cruise life was. And I said, okay, I could do this. And of course, I did other ones after that, like Disney or Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, Norwegian, quite a few of them. But once I got out of that carnival rim and into should I say the classier cruises, it was just a beautiful experience. I'm just glad I never had to go back and have a bad experience. So thank God for those wonderful cruise lines that, for the most part, have it together, have the perfect entertainment, and the folks that are on there are there to have a good time. And 9 times out of 10, we have a blast. So it's beautiful. But yeah, man, I just thought I would give that to y'all. That is just awful, right? But I'm not gonna keep you guys long. I'm gonna definitely get off. See you guys next week. Definitely share, subscribe, show some love on the Cash App. $sign DJ Battle 313. Peace.